A long time ago, it was the custom for dairymaids to take the cows up into the mountains to pasture for the summer. While there, the maids stayed at a seteri, a small cottage. One summer, a girl named Elli was the dairymaid at a farm called Nordstu. She had just become engaged, and sometimes her sweetheart Lars visited her at the seter and helped with the cows. But mostly she was there all by herself, except for the company of the farm dog Rapp and the cattle, of course. When she wasn't busy tending the cows, Elli liked to weave. One afternoon, as she was sitting by her loom, Lars suddenly appeared and sat down beside her. "I have been thinking about the wedding," he said, "and I don't want to wait till the end of summer. Let's get married now." Elli sat very still and didn't say a word. This was strange talk, she thought, and also she felt so peculiar. Not only that, Rapp growled at Lars, his neck fur sticking straight up. Usually, Rapp loved Lars's visits and wanted him to rub his belly. Now the dog ran to the door, scratching and barking to get out. Quickly, Elli opened the door, and Rapp dashed off down the mountain and towards the farm. Elli would have liked to follow him, but suddenly people began to come in. She thought she recognized them as women from the nearby farms, but she wasn't quite sure. They started setting the table with fine plates, silver, and food. Then bridesmaids entered, carrying a crown, a beautiful wedding gown, ribbons, brooches, and rings, everything a bride needs. Elli felt strange, like she wasn't really there, and she could not resist the women who started to dress her. They fitted her into the gown, placed a crown on her head, pinned several brooches on her chest, and put rings on her fingers. While Elli was being dressed, Rapp ran straight to the farm. He barked and whined loudly at the door. When the farmer came out, Rapp dashed inside, jumped up on the sofa, put his paws on the axe which hung on the wall, and barked with all his might. Now the farmer knew something bad had happened. Grabbing the steel axe, he ran outside and yelled to Lars, "Get on the horse and ride to the seter at once. Take the axe. Something is wrong." Lars galloped up the mountain. And when he arrived, he saw that the seter yard was full of saddled horses standing around. Quietly, he sneaked over to the cottage and peeked through a crack in the door. People dressed in clothes were milling about. They had their back to him, and Lars realized that these were not ordinary people, but huldrefolk, for he could plainly see their tails. Grabbing his axe by the handle, Lars flung it high into the air. It made an arc and landed with a loud thwack right in the middle of the roof. No sooner did the axe embed itself on the rooftop than the door flew open and out rolled one ball of gray wool after another. It was the huldrefolk escaping. They had turned themselves into balls of yarn so they could flee quickly and without being recognized. Now they twirled past Lars's legs and sped off into the mountains. Lars hurried inside. There sat Elli, dressed as a bride. He had come in the nick of time, for only the ring for the little finger was missing. Had they put that on her, she would have been married to the hulder. "What in the world is going on?" asked Lars, looking around. The silver was still on the table, but the food had turned into moss and toadstools, cow dung and toads and other things like that. "Why are you sitting here dressed as a bride?" asked Lars. "You should talk," said Elli. "You've been here all afternoon chatting to me about the wedding." "No, I haven't. I came just now," he said. He must have been someone who made himself look like me. Then Elli shook violently from head to toe, and after that, she became herself again. Elli and Lars hurried down to the farm. So that nothing more could happen to her, the farmer and his wife decided they should hold the wedding that very day, since Elli was still wearing the wedding finery of the huldrefolk. And so they did, with many neighbors attending. Elli looked splendid. And afterwards, the wedding crown and all the finery were hung up at Nordstu farm, and the crown is still there to this very day. Och snipp, snapp, snute, här är äventyret ute.